me that hello, we are live.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Nobody forgot they were supposed to be here.
I was just telling the guys that I was just so excited about this that I could barely sleep. So if I look tired, that's what this was. So yeah, I guess let's go around the room because a lot of these indie authors, nobody knows them. So I guess we could start off with Carmen Hooper. Would you like to introduce yourself and let's go around?
Hey everyone, I'm Matt Dinneman, author of Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Boom.
Amazing. I love the little thing.
I've got this bolo tie at where Jeff Hayes lives. There was a thrift store there, so I had to wear it for him.
And Matt, it's too early, Dinneman.
No. So I'm Major BJ.
I didn't even notice it. Why do you have that? Like Felicia Day wears your stuff, but you wear my face. This is just too meta.
Major BJ, I wear this shirt all the time.
Yeah,
it gets great play at the bar.
It works.
So, fun fact: my own actual merch, which I think looks amazing.
Yeah,
no one buys it. They all buy my face on that stupid fucking picture. But yeah. Anyway,
I sleep in this thing.
I mean, I do other things in that thing. So
I don't need.
I especially appreciate your face when I do that. So that's.
I like to wear it when I work out, so I can just see your face when I'm like.
Boom! Yeah, just I make the same noise when I do it when I wear it. Yeah.
Is it too late to switch mods? Like,
is it too late to start introductions over again? I think this has already gone off the rails.
Hey, we're in the trust tree. We're in the nest. We're
in the pocket.
Yeah, we're in the trust nest. It's just like fly, bitch.
Shove you out and fucking hope you survive.
See, I always think it's ironic when people call me Brain. So,
and yet it's not.
Oh, that had made it be. I've officially made it. But yeah, I feel like I've made it. Oh Jesus Christ! There's so many comments. Well, of course. Look at who we have.
Look at who.
Yeah, they're all here for me. Jez,
yes.
Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Sorry, yes, I'm also Matt Dinneman, and
there we go.
I am Matt Dinneman.
We are all Matt Dinneman.
We'll get to you, Matt.
We are Matt Dinneman. That's what the name of this channel should be. We are Matt Dinneman.
Yeah. It's all really we are the master. No. I'm just a random alcoholic who turned up for shits and giggles, to be perfectly fair.
All right, yeah, okay. I am Matt Dinneman, and when we make the Power Rangers, though, I'm not the black Matt Dinneman, which you would assume. I know, but no, I'm actually the green Matt Dinneman. So,
no, excellent.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be pink one for shits and giggles. I think it'll make my eyes look lovely. So that leotard, I'm not so sure about.
Oh,
I did go to a onesie party and especially Etsy made Superman onesie, but it was a baby onesie with like just the buttons under the balls, and it made a lot of people unhappy when I was in the taco line, which was great. I also had your shirt on the back of that one for different reasons. Yes.
I'm just thinking of the people who are just logging in, joining us, and right at that point, there's Alaron. Oh yeah, in the taco line with this.
Yes.
Under the balls.
The important part about that is not wearing underwear because it's very sheer.
The flap open on the back, if possible.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean that's stage 2. It literally says stage 2 on the flap. So.
I have never seen it before where the comments are a continuous stream the whole way through. Okay, we might be good there. Christ.
Don't you worry, Kyle. It's in progress.
Oh my god.
Those flap things are for cowards.
So, like, this is the thing. I was so conflicted over the last number of months because Jez took a beautiful photo of myself, Alaron, TJ, and Kev, in which Alaron is playing Settlers of Catan incredibly effectively. And
Yes.
I'm essentially just doing this to his face, from the other side of the room. And I was like, if I shared that anywhere, I would get lynched. So, but I'm getting closer and closer to doing it. But this is the troublemaker stream.
Settlers of Catan, because I was determined that next year I will kick your asses. And then I discovered that you kind of need more than 2 people to play it. So me and Chrissy on a night time were like, yeah, we'll play that later.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. But no, it very, very quickly became like, looking around and seeing like myself, Kev, and Jez were like, we've made terrible mistakes at the beginning. This is a game again between Aileron and TJ.
The best part is TJ was like, I'm like, oh guys, you should do this. And TJ's like, you shouldn't believe in him. Like, you can't say that in the South. And he goes, it's not because yours. Like, it is. And
it eventually very quickly became a game of make sure TJ loses.
yes,
and we were all united.
we all win.
And Aileron bought us food, so it was great.
Boom.
So I was like, I made the right choice here. We're in Aileron's house eating Aileron's food. Let's make sure TJ loses.
That's all the payment I really want, more than anything else.
Home
Don't you
advantage.
worry, JD. The cat's around somewhere.
Because you can't trust anybody bald. That's one thing we can agree on. Period.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I'm not
we're
going
fine.
to my kids. I just got up really fast one morning and went through my hair. At this point, they still believe it. So,
Boom.
So out of the 40 things up so far, we actually have a question from Kyle Wilkinson. And we'll go to Matt first, all 4 of you. So how do you balance humor with your serious moments in your books?
Yeah, what the fuck is this panel about anyway?
Yeah, Matt.
It's make them laugh, Matt. Dance, Matt. Dance. Come on.
Dance, monkey dance.
Come on, do a little bit of a shuffle for us, Matt. Make them
Dance,
laugh.
monkey.
Jazz Matt, what do you think with the glasses? I like
So,
it.
like a serious question: how do you balance humor and seriousness? The serious answer is I try not to be funny in my books. I never anticipated writing a book that was supposed to be funny, or I don't go out of my way to be humorous. And that sounds stupid when I'm writing a book about a talking cat. I just let the situations build themselves. And then if something humorous happens, it happens, but it's never my intent. And in my experience, I'm writing a horror novel, and I suspect the most effective humor from all of us, it comes when we're writing something that's like really serious, and then we inject those moments as opposed to the other way around. I don't know. I'm really like half awake and stoned right now, so it's difficult.
Don't worry.
to
Don't worry.
answer.
Like, the other answer I would have given for that is that you write one series called Dungeon Crawler Carl and one series called Kaiju Battle Surgeon, and then it's a case like that's how you kind of balance out.
Yeah, and I honestly feel as if Dungeon Crawler Carl is significantly more horrific than Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon is. It's just that there's more humor in it because of the situations, because of the characters, because of the setting. It's it's designed to be entertainment for third parties watching it, and that's why people think it's funny. But when you think about it, in the end, it's significantly more horrific, and they're similar. They're very similar.
Yeah. Every time I try and read Dungeon Crawler Carl and I open up the book and see the first page, which just has "fuck you" written on it, and then Matt Tinneman.
That's just for him too.
Yeah, thank you. But you can't stop me on the Kickstarter. I've bought the special editions, and unless you write "fuck you" on all of them, I'm going to have books from you that do not have that in the front. So
we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. So would anyone else like to answer that question, or
To
do
do
we
it
have
just for
other
shits
ones?
and giggles.
I
don't
love
know,
that we have
yeah.
like 60 comments plus, and we've one question.
Having a balance works, right? Like you can hit something serious more if you're not trying to be overly serious all the time. Like, right? Yeah.
And Jay said that. So Alaron said in his books, we keep it light till it's time to get dark. Then we get pitch black.
Yeah.
With going to dark humor. Is there a level that any of you won't go to?
It's
don't think we've
interesting
followed
with
the
like
facts so
with
far.
with everything being super hyper. God, am I going to get canceled for doing whatever? I don't know. At least like for me, Honestly, I really am appreciative of comics that are pushing back against it more now. And it's like I feel like if I'm not saying what I think is important to be said, especially in like my books, because I'm afraid, I'm kind of, I was gonna say pussing out, but I don't like canceled. Uh Balling out. No, that's supposed to be good. Anyway, it's not good. So I personally decided to lead into it. That's me.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. Even personally for myself, like when I'm writing things and people are like, "Oh my god, I laughed so much at this," I'm like, "Why?" Isn't like I didn't write it with the intention of being funny, and they were like, "Oh, it's hilarious." I'm like, "Is it though?" So, like, do you find that your audience kind of like resonates? Like, do you specifically go in, and this is for any one of you, do you specifically go in and be like, I'm writing a funny scene here, or is it just, it just so happens, and then people tend to enjoy it?
I think when I'm writing mine, it's very much a case of it's like a stream of consciousness. I'm seeing it through the main character's eyes, and they're doing whatever. But if they're with close friends who they're like fighting by the side of, there's always that little bit of banter between them, and being able to get them to talk. And so that Jez, your book is so unique that might not be a good thing. That could be a very bad thing as well. But the way that people talk when you're having a joke when the shit hits the fan, and you're having that little bit of banter, I find that to be the best way for me, anyway.
What about you, Harmon?
What was the question again?
I knew it. I did it. I did it specifically for this because you never remember the question.
Well, I'm listening to other people's answers, like, Jez is such a smart man, or
Yeah.
and then I forget what he's answering.
Do you intentionally write humor, or does it? Just
Oh yeah.
happen?
No, I don't, not anymore, and I don't actually like writing humor. My books that aren't humorous have always been better received than the ones that are. So I think now I have found a balance where the characters are just existing and there is like inherent humor within that. The new project I'm working on is kind of like Kill Bill meets Harry Potter. So it's an assassin reborn into the body of an orphan who's attending an academy, and there is humor in that in certain ways because you have like this grizzled assassin in this guy's head saying certain things to him while he's dealing with like something that a 15-year-old would deal with. So, but it's not like intentionally meant to be humorous because he genuinely means these things. Reading back, I find it to be humorous because just imagining the scenario, but it's more for me just organically now. If it feels right, I'm not like, I don't like wake up, think like, oh, I'm going to put in a joke here or really try to make this funny. It's just the characters kind of take on lives of their own, and some of them are funnier than others. But my humor isn't as well received, so then maybe they're not funnier than others.
So here's another question that came in. What is the process you go through to create unique boss battles and mob battles that aren't just copy-paste from every game book ever? For example, the Ball of Swine from DCC or the Abomination from the Land. We'll start with Matt, and then go to Aileron and work our way around the room.
I when it comes to monsters, I like to have a mix of, things that we're all familiar with, and then I always add +1. It's like, the whole rule with improv, and so they were fighting orcs, and they're dwarf orcs, and they're S&M orcs, all wearing ball gags and stuff and they're all in a big giant ball rolling, attacking, that sort of thing. Each time you come up with something new, you just add a little and that and has to be one step crazier. And what I always do is I keep going until it's just absolutely absurd that it doesn't even make sense, and then I take one step back. And when you do that, you come up with like crazy wild things. So I'm never satisfied with like, the base, whatever the base that anybody can come up with is. I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And that's always been my method. That'll always be my method.
And go for it, Josh. You can post generic praise all you like, and I may or may not read some of them. But back to that question, Aileron, for example, the Abomination from the Land, what was the process you went through for that?
So like when I'm writing, I like to sort of like try to navigate between like, yes, there's common tropes that like I enjoy, and so I don't feel the need to like go away from something just because like elves are tall and dwarves are short and they don't like each other. Like I think you can take a little bit of that so that there's some grounding, but then you like go like another way. Like in my next book, like the orcs are like very, very, very Latino, and I'm really enjoying like making my narrator, whoever that's going to be, just lean into that, because that's obviously going to be problematic these days. But it's like for something like The Abomination, it's like I think one of the cool things about lit RPG authors is that all of us are pretty much like genuine fans. So we've read a lot of the same books, we've done whatever. So I'm like, what was creepy as hell to me? What do I think is like kind of nasty? What would be like my worst nightmare? What would be slightly, what is it? There was a comedian that was talking, she's like, yeah, you ever gone through like old photos and you see this hot guy and then you realize it's your granddad and you keep looking a little too long? Like I kind of try to hit like that vibe. Basically, where like you feel a little bad about yourself, and I enjoy the fact that I made you feel bad about yourself, because that's what I get off on as a person, and that's how I write my books. So,
if you're worried about what the thing was that was going to cancel you, Alaron,
it's fucking my granddad, not making pancakes wearing your shirt. I don't know what was...
I don't know. It's just stop getting pictures of people and getting aroused. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Is it wrong to buy the major? Actually, wait. Before I answer this, Jez, do I get a cut of all the major BJ t-shirts sold?
Yes, we.
Byron, I think you need one for all the family. Like it's just,
yes, you do.
So
I sell them for cheaper.
Probably.
Yeah, if they're used, that's.
We'll do a deal.
I'm not sure.
But you have to barter with him, and then you pay in the end. So
yeah.
Especially when it comes to cookies.
Jez, we'll go to you for process, and let me just repeat the question so Harmon can, kind of practice before we come to him. What sort
I'm
of
gonna put myself on mute here and practice. I'm gonna put myself on mute here, and you'll see me moving around. I'm practicing my answer.
But yeah, like what sort of process do you go through to create unique boss battles and mob battles that aren't just copy paste from every other game or book before?
I don't know, in all honesty, because I'm very much a pantser, so I don't plan at all. I'm literally writing and I'm seeing what goes on at the same time as everybody else is. So some of the characters, when they come across enemies, sometimes I'll see things and it'll be like, oh, that'd be really cool to include that. But then, as Matt was saying before, you've got to give it a twist. You've got to add some extra onto it, like as he's added with the S&M orcs, like giant orcs with big floppy dildos. That I really I'm regretting putting those in one of the books, because I'm sure I probably read it from yours, you bastard.
And Harmon,
I lately, because of I've this year I'm closing out 4 projects, and so once you've started a project, you do have like parameters. As I can't, like in Cowboy Necromancer, I can't all of a sudden have a big ball of swine like rolling at the guy. It just wouldn't fit into that world. And so generally when I start something, I make, I'm kind of a hybrid gardener when it comes to writing a plot. And so I'll have parameters as to what I'm trying to stick with. So what I'm working on right now, the monsters, I'm really interested in yokai, and I'm interested in like mythological creatures and like Nordic creatures. And so I'll combine those two to create something that it has parts of both of them in some way. So I try to challenge myself in that way. But there's other projects like Pilgrim, which I'm publishing the 8th and last book at the end of the month. It's all yokai because it's been yokai since book 1. So as much as I want to like really push it, it kind of has parameters that it's already fitting into. But that said, it does have some of the most monstrous creatures I've ever created, and monstrous situations. I mean, in this book, the character is faced with killing his father, killing his mother, killing his brother to get ahead. And it's to put that all together in a way that doesn't sound like he's a sociopath, took 8 books.
I will say though, like from conversations with you in Vegas and all these lives beforehand, I think that you are one of the most researched writers I've ever come across. And just with such a volume of books, like I would have thought that you fucking wing it, and it'd be like, it's just like, oh yeah, just there's another like 90 books. But no, the amount of research put into them is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the other questions, because they are going to get it tough us. There's 10 of them here. Oh, Jez, here's one for you. Does drinking help with bringing the humor to your books?
It doesn't hurt. Basically, I view it as if I'm not working, I should be drinking. And the difference between a functional alcoholic and an alcoholic is that one's just awake and one's asleep.
That's a very British answer.
Yeah, that's and that's brevity as well. That's also very, very British.
Honestly, though, I mean, it's a case of I joke about it a lot, but I don't drink unless I'm on a live, when I'm like talking to people like this, or I'm out and I'm doing something. Beyond that, I don't drink at all. So I just drink sort of my entire year's worth at the conventions.
At Dragon Con.
Oh, good God, yes. I don't know for about. But it's a case of when you're working through things, the world is just hammering away at your mind. You're trying to keep up when you're typing because there's all this stream of just madness. And I often joke that the reason that I'm an author these days is because I'm fucking mad and I'm making the voices actually pay rent. Genuinely believed that I was mad and then started writing and found that all these other fuckers are mad as well. So it was all right. It worked out.
My favorite part about Jez, my favorite part about Jez at Dragon Con is the last 2 years, there's just a day that he fucking disappears. Like, it's like he's gone too hard. And then all of a sudden I'm texting Geneva, like, yo, where's Jez? I'm looking to meet up with those dudes. And it's like, he's out for today. It's usually like the Saturday to Sunday. There's one day. And then I see him again the next day and he's like back to full throttle. It's awesome.
I don't see many people a lot of time.
When I first met Jez, he had like a gallon bag, a Ziploc bag filled with alcohol. It was like a literal bag. Like, hey, do you want some? And
I'll say, when I first met Matt, he was straight across with his glass going,
yeah.
There's this old adage that says you should write drunk and edit sober, and I do the exact opposite. I make sure I am completely sober when I write. I don't do anything. I don't take anything. And then when I'm like working on it, I tend to, if I drink, I usually only drink at conventions also, or at band, or when I'm lonely. And
or during my showers,
or
never be lonely again. Major Beat t-shirts.
Or before I go to the grocery store.
No, seriously, I find editing's a lot better because I hate editing when I'm having
hate it.
Fun doing it apparently.
Fucking editing.
Editing sucks.
Yeah.
It's homework.
It's homework, yeah.
So
the worst part about editing is when you feel like you've done so well, and then you go back and see what you did. You're like, all right, time to fucking crack back into this, and you're like, God damn it.
That's why
I definitely will go back sometimes, and I'll be like, who wrote this shit? And I literally, for a moment, am like, who did this? Because this is barely English right now. With me and drinking, I definitely could delineate between I can enjoy a nice aperitif or a nice bottle, or I'm like, we're doing shots until we can't feel feelings anymore. And I almost never drink while I'm writing because the same way, it's sort of like, it's like you're vividly hallucinating, like it takes everything. I did, when I first started writing, I would pour myself like a finger of scotch to do the Hemingway thing. And I was like, I'm just being a douche. I mean, but I definitely do think that there's utility in in the overall thing for writing, where it's like, I've been out with my buddies and I'm like, let's get hammered drunk. And some of the things that I will see that I wrote down that they said the next day, I'm like, this is perfection. I have to find a scene that this will fit into because it's hilarious and it's awesome. But it's same utility with sometimes I go for a hike and I get inspired, but alcohol is awesome is all I'm saying. So, yeah.
So we have 11 questions. I'm going to combine two of them here, Rachel and Jay's. Rachel wrote, ignore your fan favorite moments. What's your favorite funny moment in your books? Question for everyone but Brian. And we'll combine that with Jay's, which is for all 5 of you. What's your favorite moment in your books? And so we all get to answer this one. Let's go in chronological here. Harmon, you start us off.
God damn it.
you know what the question is. That's why I won't.
Yeah, I know. But I have to think about it. I find the interactions between the characters and tokens and towers really funny because one's a neurodivergent spell book, and the other is a delusional and slightly paranoid writer. And so the spell book is a fan of the writer in the real world. And so he keeps reminding him of like his terrible books that he's like upset about, that he didn't like. But the spell book really liked them because he was originally a human. So I find those to be funny because I've had books that I'm not proud of, and then those are the ones that people contact me about, like, hey, will you write more of this? And I'm like, oh man, like I realize you like it, but you're kind of like digging the knife in deeper. So it's kind of funny to have a creative who like doesn't like a product that they've perhaps done, but you really like it, and then you keep bothering them about it, and they're just like, God damn it, like read my new stuff, like that kind of vibe. So I find that that humor in that book funny.
Matt, what about yourself? Your favorite?
Well, my favorite part's always the process, and so in the most recent book, Jeff Hayes says to me, "Hey, we're gonna get Patrick Warburton to play a character," and then I said, "Well, can we get Travis Baldree to play a character also?" And I thought to myself, how can I make this the most awkward for Jeff? Because he's going to have to look at this person in the eye. So I thought, what if I can make Travis Baldree a crab that has to masturbate on a bunch of dead baby seals, while Patrick Warburton has to be shouting at the crab while it happens. And then I want Jeff to have to look Patrick Warburton in the eye and face to face and explain this to him. So I wrote that whole scene just to make Jeff awkward. I'm entertaining. So it's entertaining to me, just thinking of how it's awkward for other people.
And how many apologies Jeff had to give in advance. I'm so sorry about this.
Jeff doesn't give a fuck, dude. Jeff doesn't give a fuck. I've never seen he'll charge into anything. Like I'm like, hey, I need for my book, the new one I told him, I'm like, because he's narrating, I'm like, I need three main voices. You have the assassin, you have like the teenager, and then you have the assassin speaking through the teenager. And then also sometimes, I need four. You have the assassin speaking through the teenager, mocking the teenager. And Jeff is just like, yeah, okay. Like he likes to be challenged, and like, I think it keeps it interesting for him.
Does.
Absolutely. So
It's his
what about
kink.
you, Jez?
It's his kink for sure.
I created a character called Gint, who's basically a crack addicted, well, not crack, but he's a drug addicted gnome who's just absolutely fucking batshit. And he's been trapped in a lost city with others of his kind for years. And while he's now healed, so he's starting to sort of get better, he's also been exposed to lots of chemicals and all sorts for his entire life. So his brain is massively fucked up, and the pair of him and Bane fighting together and sort of, killing things, and like, Gint kills one more than Bane, and Bane just being cold and being like, fuck you, Gint, I fucking hate you. Like, just the cold sort of like, oh, for fuck's sake, that guy. You're just little bits of banter between the characters like that. I like that. Mainly I'm saying that one because I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
And Alaron, what about yourself?
I like it when I can have my characters be assholes to each other, and especially if like they can pretend that they're not. There's a scene in my first book where like the main character gets this magic armor that lets him climb trees faster, and his buddy's been telling him that like actually it's all these like secret sprite exercises, so he's been doing push-ups for weeks, and like he gets furious about that, and then they ended up fighting. And then there's like a later scene where his buddy's trying to like get away from this girl, and he just invites her over, and he's like, why? And the guy, and then the main character just goes, push-ups, bitch, push-ups. And like that just sort of like hate love is sort of what I view the greatest love in my heart. So that's kind of the kind of stuff that I think is really funny, and it's what I'm trying to lean into. Yeah.
In Quest Academy in book 2, one of the characters is Barry. And Barry is based off a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. And Barry is an asshole. He's just an absolute straight up asshole. And his ability is illusions. Very much a Loki-esque character. But he has a scene in book 2 where he essentially uses illusions to goad someone into using their powers. and
Yeah.
this person causes mass destruction around them and stuff like this. And Barry's like, come on, it's doing nothing. Come on, it's doing nothing. Barry's over in the far side of the canteen eating, looking over at it, being like, what's happening? Like it's essentially just mass destruction, and that kid gets expelled. That had me crying because it's just so him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it like kind of all comes together. But yeah, that's my answer. No, you're not. Rachel's character is kind of like a gerbil juggernaut in the story. It's just kind of like, only a sweep kick can get her. She's like 4'2", so you have to like sweep kick her to kind of stop the juggernaut momentum. That's her character.
Since we all like asked, shout out to Ricky Gervais, who I think is one of the funniest people on the planet. But he did a special recently. He was like, yeah, we all show love in different ways. Like we don't necessarily talk. Like me and my buddy came over, and he had said like he's looking sad, and he's like, yeah, I just we had my mom's funeral, we had to cremate her, and I'm like, oh, come on in. And he goes, I was like, how was it? And he goes, it was actually tough because she wanted to be thrown off the bluffs, and the wind shifted, and it all blew into our faces, and it was this very weird time. And Ricky Gervais says, he looks at him and he goes, was it bitter in your mouth? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, oh, that was her clit. And
oh, I'm like, I don't know if that's a gag or a gag.
It's just motherly love. It's just motherly love.
He goes, and that's our hug. And he said, his buddy was like, Jesus Christ. But he's like, yeah, that's
one last
our
kiss.
Hug. And then he laughed. Yeah, I mean, it takes all kinds.
Yeah.
The way I view it is that you must have good people in your life. So you need something else. I want to give you something that you actually need, because you probably already have a good person in your life. So I don't know. I'm thoughtful like that. So.
God. So there's so many questions. Sorry. Okay, who have we now gone to? Josh. So has Matt thought of writing a spin-off story following the events of other crawlers?
Well, the next book in the Dungeon Crawler Crawl series is going to have multiple vignettes where we meet other crawlers from previous seasons. But as for an entire book, I'm not planning on it, not in novel form, but it may happen sooner than you might think in alternate medias.
Okay.
Podcast.
Period.
He's gonna have a podcast, dude. Once a week. We just check
puppets,
in. Shadow Puppets and a podcast. Shadow Puppets the podcast.
But and it has to be narrated by the masturbatory crab.
You mean Travis Baldry?
But
he loves it when we call him that.
A real question from Paul Hasseltine. What's a monster y'all really want to add to your books, but you've been keeping on the back burner? Let's start with yokai expert Harmon Cooper.
I mean, I guess if I added Paul to my books, that would be the ultimate monster. So maybe I'll save that for like when I'm ready to fucking go out swinging.
Yeah.
I have no monster that I'm like, I'm saving this one for. But that's maybe someone else does. Anybody have a monster that they've been saving besides Paul? No. Any monster?
No,
That's like interesting.
I don't save anything in the tank. It's like
Yeah.
like, be better. Like fuck you tomorrow, Alaron. Like be better. I don't know. Like I mean, I've got like 100 pages of plot lines I haven't gotten to yet. That's different. But like just something where I'm like, ooh, this is too good now. Like just I don't know. Yeah.
It's just you write what's appropriate to the story at that time, or at least I do, and then it's sort of like if you can badger in something that's absolutely fucking insane, great. If not, then you can't chuck someone in just for shits and giggles, unless you're Matt Dinniman.
Speaking of Matt Dinniman, do you have anything in the back burner?
I just kind of make it up as I go along. I kind of like the feeling of like for them. They turn the corner and it's like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? Sort of feeling in this particular in Dungeon Crawler Crawl. So I like doing that. I don't really plan anything in advance. I just literally make it up as I go along. I'll throw hints of certain types of monsters and I'll come up with them then when I throw the hints. But they're already in like the backstage area ready to go. So I don't really have too much in the tank, like Alan says, just ready to go.
So what monsters? Sorry, actually, Sharon had a question here. Would any of you awesome people be interested in co-writing a new book or series with each other?
I think we're all
Never.
pretty good, to be honest.
I'm right now booked on my writing schedule to 20, I think close to 2026. I've signed contracts out that far, and so I don't have, yeah, I hadn't even considered anything because I kind of treat my writing schedule like a narrator treats their schedule. It's like I know how much I can produce per month. I know when I need to get something turned into certain people, and I just kind of do that. But I thought the whole premise of this conversation is we're all Matt Dinniman, and we're trying to reveal to the world this whole time that we've all been Matt Dinniman. So we technically have already all been co-writing together because we're all Matt Dinniman.
Yeah.
I actually,
Yeah.
I feel that with Harmon's personalities, he's been co-writing for years and no one has known. So, just listen. To
I do have my first co-write coming out next fall though, so I have one coming.
That's cool. My Matt Dinniman plan is, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to outlive all the rest of you bastards. So then I will be the Matt Dinniman. So that's
It's going to be hard to outlive some of us.
Will the real Matt Dinniman please stand up?
Boom. And I got my skin and blade to get the real Matt Dinniman beard, and then I'm just gonna be there. Boom.
Yeah.
Yo, side comment. Matt, your beard's was looking awesome at DragonCon. Like I've never grown it out, but man, yours had like a shape. I don't know if you're big ball and now you like got that styled somewhere, or is it just grows like that? But I'm jealous, man. I loved it. I saw it and I was like, lucky dude. I was like, damn, that beard looks fierce, man. It didn't look like, because I've seen some lit RPG writers and the beard's gone too crazy. And I'm like, it doesn't look like that. It looks like has an edge to it.
Gandalf. Yeah.
So Jack had a question. Hey folks, question. When it comes to writing characters, do you like your MC to be the source of humor or the side characters around them? Let's start in reverse order with Alaron.
I definitely need side characters to like do a lot of the heavy lifting. It's more organic, it works better. And I personally think just in real life, like if you're not laughing at yourself, you're missing the greatest jokes that are happening in your life. So I definitely put that on my MC as well.
I mean, I'm married, so I'm used to being laughed at constantly, really. So beyond that, it's a case of I have my side characters for the main characters to interact with and to be able to bounce things out. So yeah, definitely the interaction between the primary and the side characters is the best part.
Matt?
Yeah, so when you have the main character as the source of the humor, it kind of changes the genre of the book slightly. You have like movies like Airplane where it's all slapstick, and in my particular book, Carl is very rarely the source of the humor. He plays he's taking everything that's happening around him dead serious.
Mm-hmm. He's a straight man.
Right, exactly. And a lot of the humor it comes from Donut, but Donut isn't intentionally trying to be humorous either. She's a cat. She's a talking cat experiencing the world with a voice for the first time. Some of it's coming from like the AI and the world itself, which is deliberately trying to be humorous. So it's deliberately stupid sometimes because it's hamming it up for an audience. So I prefer main characters that tend to take things more seriously myself.
For me, it comes from the side characters. There has been I have written before where the main character, and that's the danger of doing that too much, having the side characters always be the source of humor, is that sometimes it can muddle out the character. The main character is kind of like just an observer of the people interacting, like snipping at each other, everything around him. So there's some skill that still creating a character for the main character while the side characters are bringing in more of the humor, but it's generally the side characters for me. If it is the main character, because Tokens and Towers, he's humorous himself. It's more self-deprecating in that regard.
So a question that I have here, and might be a little bit of an off-the-wall one, but because you're all kind of titans of industry within this sort of space, have you ever felt
Ugh.
trapped by the kind of success of certain stories? In that, the thing is, like, you've written something that's become beloved and it's absolutely wonderful, and you're kind of expected to continue those sagas out for a long period of time. And I don't know, like, I haven't gotten that far myself in these stories. Like, does it ever start to get stale? Do you ever feel more obliged to continue those stories? Or is it still an absolute adventure like book one for you? And this to anyone who wants to take it.
I'll say I've definitely fallen into that. I never thought anyone was ever going to read my books. I knew nothing about publishing. And then it kind of got this whirlwind of like getting, certain benchmarks and whatever, and people loving it. And then I was like, well, I want to make sure they love the next one, and the next one's got to be bigger. And oh, I got this one bad review. And it started just being about bullshit, honestly. And you like from the outside, you could just have to be like, yeah, you didn't give a shit, and that's why you wrote books that people like. So just keep doing that. But it was definitely a big evolution for me because in general, I just never care what anyone else thinks. I'm very much just walk my own path. So it was almost this like unseen and unexpected vulnerability that I started caring what random people think. So it wasn't feeling fun anymore. So that's one of the reasons that I took a step back, and I'm like, I don't know how to fix this, but I do know this shit isn't working for me. So I just sort of worked on myself and talked about that in my live just now and and I don't know, like taking care of myself, it now feels super fun again. And now it feels like I'm creating at a level that I wanted to create, and that it feels the way I want it to feel. But that's like my own personal thing. Like, but I definitely felt like other people's bullshit, and then me allowing that bullshit, and then me putting more bullshit on me. Like, I definitely went through that. So
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
For me with it, I haven't gotten that sort of stuck with the stories because the way that my mind works, I need to change quite regularly. So I write a couple of books in one series, then I jump to the next series, write a couple of books, then jump to the next, which at first worked really, really well for me. But now I've got 3 series out that I need to continue, and realizing that by the time I've finished all of these, I'm looking at the end of 2025. And sort of like sitting there and going, oh, shit. But when Aileron's saying that, it is basically, it sounds exactly like Burnout, which so many of us, I'm actually really, really surprised by how many of the other authors that I spoke to at DragonCon this year have gone through Burnout this year, or are in the middle of it, or are dealing with it literally right now. And I'm literally just recovering from it. So I'll hold my hand up to that one and say it. So it's just quickly, guys, I'll change the tone of the conversation, I know, but coming off the back of what Aileron said there, burnout is real, and working your ass off into the ground, if you don't take some time out between books, if you don't take some time to do something that you want to do, you're just going to wipe yourself out. You need to take some time. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so I write a lot more slowly than a lot of the guys on this panel. And I have a method that I deal with potential burnout ahead of time. And what I do is I never write a book or a series where the end game isn't immediately, what we know what the end game is going to be from the first half of the first book. Like for Dominion of Blades, which I haven't finished yet because Dungeon Crawler Carl took off, that we know what the end game is. For Dungeon Crawler Carl, we know what the end game is. For Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, it's a one and done book anyway. And I think for writers, most of these popular series have they're open ended, and they do that so they can write book 10, book 11, book 12, book 13, book 14, book 15, and that sometimes works out. Look at He Who Fights with Monsters. Look at Cradle. He made it to 11, and his Kickstarter just hit 7 figures. It's insane. But a lot of times that's not the case. So it's really tough to be motivated to finish a series when each book has diminishing returns as an author. So I deliberately make it so I know what the ending's supposed to look like, even if I don't know what it is yet. But there's a finish line in sight at all times. And that, I think that as a writer, that really helps the potential for burnout. I'm still having a blast writing the series. I have other things I have to be doing too. I have to finish another series, Dominion Blades. I have this novel called Operation Bounce House I've been working on for a long time that I need to finish. Lots of stuff, but I have so much fun writing Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it's popular, and it has, obviously the fan community behind it. I'm super motivated still to this day to write it.
Thank you. And Harmon?
There's a lot of things that were discussed in this for this question, but the original question being how mitigating or when success becomes maybe a lot to bear. Is that am I understanding that correctly?
It's essentially it becomes a case of like, are you able to like, do you ever feel trapped by the success of certain projects, or that you need to keep writing in a certain vein?
I'm lucky in the fact that lately I've been the contracts I've been signing, I try to keep them to trilogies, and then sometimes I want to go longer. So like Cowboy Necromancer was originally signed as a trilogy. It could have ended there, but I really liked writing in it, and so I have one more novella, and I'm going to do. We'll have done by December 4 novellas, and that will be a book 4 next year. So it has audio as well, and so I have been signing things and thinking of things in terms of that. So I have an out. So it's similar but different to Matt's out, like knowing that there's an end game that could come. That's kind of like I feel like some of the stories that I've written, like I could keep going if there wasn't a diminishing return. But I also have a way to like, jump ship if it's like, doing what it's doing okay, but it's not like doing anything groundbreaking or anything like that. And so I've found balance in doing that. But having too much, to what Jess said, having too many things going on at the same time, it kind of sucks in certain ways as well. Because like this year, I've ended The World According to Dragons, Tokens and Towers. I just finished Pilgrim, and then now I have this one Cowboy Necromancer novella left. So 4 different series I finished this year, and I'm so glad because like they weren't at all getting stale, but they do get stale to you after you've been working on it for a long enough time, and you also have this feeling of like. I'm ready to. You see what's like what's you're reading what's in the genre right now. You're seeing what's working right now, and you're wanting to like test it and do things, but you can't because your writing schedule is like, well, I can't like just jump into like a web serial right now. And now I am working on one right now that I'm going to launch in December. However, I haven't been able to do that, which maybe would have been smarter to do that earlier in the year because of having to finish these commitments. So that's a double-edged sword in that regard. The commitments being you do want to finish them. Because people talk about that completion aspect, but also if it's still inspiring you, if it's still working, or some of these guys have like it's working, like it's so big that it's a different type of pressure. So basically, don't become a writer.
So look, I guess then one of the other things, like because this is all about make them laugh, and I had to put in at least one deep question to veer off track, but what is something that has made you laugh from reading other stories, not your own? What is something that has made you absolutely cackle? Now, it can be from someone else here or something completely outside of this, but what is something that still sticks with you as one of the funniest moments you've read within the genre? And we'll start off with Aileron.
Oh, God.
We'll start off with Matt.
I'll take it. Okay.
We'll start with Harmon. Oh my God, sorry, Harmon, go.
Okay. Well, when I originally years ago, I read Caverns and Creatures, and there were some there were times when I laughed out loud a bunch of that. Critical Failures. There were times that I laughed a lot. I've been listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl because I just like listening to what Jeff Hayes does, and I find it interesting. And I've worked with him with like 15 books, and so there are a couple times like I'll be at the gym listening to it, and I'll just like crack out laughing like on the treadmill or something, and then I'll feel like I hope no only people knew what I was listening to right now. Then they know I was laughing at
Caverns and Creatures, Critical Failures is a great example of hilarious. But I was gonna say the way speaking of Travis Baldry, the crab masturbator, the way when he reads a book called Beware of Chicken, a series, and when we get into Big D's head, who's the rooster who's being cultivated because he's living on the farm and he sees everything in the Chinese language. Every time he says, you know, they bastardize like the chickens' names to
Mhm.
Chinese name. It's so fucking funny, and I can listen to that all day long.
I need to listen to it because I read it and like I found it interesting, but I have a feeling listening to it is just a whole nother dimension.
It's just
Jeff
so
doing it,
good.
will we?
Okay, I'll listen to that.
And Jez, what about
I-
yourself?
I don't know. I'd say there's probably two quite quickly there. First of all is God of the Feast, because when you're
Kev.
hearing Kev, it is the whole like, oh, for fuck's sake. You can just see Kev as the main character. Every time shit happens, you can just see, oh, for fuck's sake. And it is Kev without a shadow of a doubt. But the main one that I thought of straight away would be Challenger's Call series by Nathan A. Thompson, for the three sort of witnesses that follow around with the main hero, Wes, who are sort of witnessing things in stone and carving or whatever, and they're seeing this guy who is basically, you know, the man of legend who's come out of the past and he's fucking everything up and he's sorted it all out. And by the time they've been with him about 3 books, shit's hitting the fan. He's kicking the shit out of everybody, and they're going, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm gonna have to record this again." And people are going, "Oh yeah, no, just leave it." Yeah. "Oh no, he's pulled up a house." Yeah, he's pulled up a house inside of somebody else's house. How do you win? Well, he just trashed their fucking place. But it's the whole like dry humor of them just being able to see the 3 of them going, "I hate my life. I hate my fucking life," because everything they've ever wanted has come true, and they're getting to see this happen. It's just, I'm just evil, and I like to see them all suffer.
And what about yourself, Alaron?
I'm thinking about like a web serial, The Legendary Mechanic, which I think is absolutely awesome. And it's this guy, and they're about to get into this big fight scene, and there's one guy in the back that's just like, "Yeah, you know, we could kick any of your butts," and da da da. And then like everyone's just quiet. He's like, "Okay, so yeah, Kev, you're gonna be the one to go do that, right?" And he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I mean, I don't know where you got that from, but you're making, I know what time is it? I don't know, just like totally seeing this guy reverse and just have like zero shame." It's like right up there with the carpet where like he thinks he's a redhead and he goes, "You're so full of it." He goes, "Yeah, but I'm still alive." And like that's hilarious to me.
Just on like Jez talked about, I think was God of the Feast. Oshbob for me had one of the scenes that I actually laughed out loud. I rarely ever laugh out loud. And it's essentially these people trying to come in and kill him. He has to stall for time, and they're like, open the doors. He's like, okay. And then they're like, pauses, and they're like, are you doing it? Be like, yeah, looking for the keys. And then Kev's character just there with guns trained at the door waiting. It's like, it's just the stalemate. Just it was just so stupid. And like when you imagine Kev as the person there, it just made it like absolute chef kiss.
Just also in Oshbob, in the Oshbob stories, the goblins, their version of antiseptic is to piss on the injuries. And so having him wake up, having been operated on by goblins with them all pissing on him, and he's just like, "What the fuck is going on?" And they're like, "I take care of you. Infection, I sort." It's just that whole like, fuck, what's wrong with you, Kev, that you came up with that?
But yeah, so look, we're kind of coming up to time. But what I want to do is like give you all an opportunity to tell us about what you're working on. Any kind of closing statements, where we can find you and support you, stuff like that. So, Alaron, we'll start in reverse order with yourself.
I'm working on a 3rd series in my Labyrinth universe called Omega Mag that'll be coming out sometime soon. And I made a manga of my first book in the land that's free on litrpg.com. Hope you guys like it.
Amazing.
Sweet. I've got Arise 3, which is surprisingly the 3rd book in the Arise series, which launched on Friday. That's literally just come out. But in celebration of that, Arise 1 is, thank you, sir, is free at the moment. So it's free for the entire weekend if you haven't read it. So get that one downloaded, because if it's past today, you won't get it for free. Okay.
Right on.
Matt.
I'm working on Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 7 right now. I also have a Kickstarter going on right now for hardcovers for Book 1, and it's doing okay. What else am I working on? Soundblue Theater is doing a deep dive version of, or I can't remember what it's called. It's a
Immersion Tunnel.
Immersion tunnel of the Dungeon Crawler Crawl. It's a full cast reboot of the first series, and it's completely. It has new scenes. It has lots of back stuff that added to it. And I just listened to episode 2, which comes out on Halloween, and it's amazing.
Fantastic. Also,
Yeah,
I will
that's
say,
really cool.
the hardcovers with the foil, the cover, it looks unreal.
For the hard, yeah, for that.
I have fucking
Yeah,
I've done that as well.
yeah, and like seeing how quickly it funded, I was like, "Fuck you, Matt Dinneman." But I also like, I want to support my friend, but I hate that guy. So, what about you, Harmon?
To jump back on what he was talking about, yeah, the immersion tunnel stuff is great. Like I've done full production with SBT before, and like it's cool, like hearing like Carl playing video games and stuff, and like talking shit with his friends over the headset. Like it's a completely different vibe, and I really like the covers for that. I don't know, I forget the artist's name, but the
Dave Law.
that stuff is awesome. Like it's such a gritty, cool vibe, and I can't wait to see the rest of them. As for me, hi everyone, I'm Harmon Cooper. I have too much to say, so I'll just keep it short. You can go to www.harmoncooper.com. This month I'm finishing the Pilgrim series, and so I have an 8th book coming out there. So that's worth checking out. Cowboy Necromancer is being finished this year as well. In terms of new things, I finished the book over the summer, but it's not being published till next year, and it's called The Pub in the Underworld, and that starts in February. And then I am launching a web serial called Battledeck Academy starting in December. So I'm just making chapters on that right now. And it's kind of a Kill Bill meets Harry Potter. And it's one of the funnest things. It kind of combines everything I can do well into one project. And I'm like, maybe this could be something really fun to do. And Jeff will be doing narration for that. And I'm incredibly excited. And he'll start doing the live reads for that at the beginning of December.
People stop doing Academy stories, please, and just let me have this. Like, could you just like?
I've never done one. I've never done one. I've been wanting to do one. So.
I got there first. Fuck off! Like you have like 90 other books. Okay? Stay in your lane.
I found it to be so fresh and different than I actually like. Really enjoy doing it versus
it's super fun. Stop.
Yeah, this stuff.
I think I'm gonna write one now too.
Hey.
No.
Dungeon Crawler Academy.
No, anyone but you, Matt, please.
I think that's already taken.
Oh God, it just. But look, thank you, everyone. Like, we still have a couple of minutes. I'll see if there's any like small questions.
I will say quickly, guys. I know that you're all waiting for the cat butt, which is traditional, but it's just chilling at the moment.
Jesus Christ, it's certainly not starving.
That's because she ate the other ones.
It's not starving at the moment.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess, God, well, we've 2.5 minutes, and if we go into any of these questions, then it'll just go way over. But I suppose that the Discord, I don't know if any of these people actually intend on going to the Discord to answer more of your questions, but they might. No. Okay. So,
I actually have to write and edit.
Yeah, at least I didn't lie to you.
My ass hurts. So.
I really don't like Discord.
But yeah, so look, it has been an absolute pleasure. Small question: you have to kill Brian. How do you do it? Anyone that wants to take this?
With kindness.
A small question because there's so many potential.
I would with kindness.
Oblongata.
I would just keep writing Academy books, and that will.
All those teeth and no toothbrush. But, sorry, medulla oblongata. It's one of it, right? But yeah, that the Major BJ t-shirt. Yeah, just strangle me with that. Sorry, this is the Make Them Laugh. Yes. But look, thank you everyone in the chat. Some amazing questions, a lot of stuff that we weren't able to get to. Time is limited, and because I was super selfish and asked loads of questions, I wanted the answer for. So, but sorry, YOLO. Yeah, we have other stuff coming up. I didn't check the schedule. I don't know what that is, but I hope that you'll join us for the rest of Guildify-Con and support these lovely people by buying their books. If you have them, buy them again. Support Matt's Kickstarter, and yeah. that's us. Geneva, you can cut us off whenever you want.
Thank
and
you.
we'll do
everyone.
Queen's Wave.
Appreciate you guys.